Okay, guys, so I've been um, addressing this topic for quite some time, and it's the one that I get probably some of the most pushback on, but it's on the topic of pants sagging. Now, before everybody starts to roll their eyes and jump to how stupid it looks and things like that, I'm not saying the dress code shouldn't be part of something, but what I'm saying is we seem to keep attacking one particular group. If we're talking about decency, when people say, I can see your whole backside, well, I've never seen somebody expose their whole backside when they're sagging. Usually you can see boxers or something, so you're not seeing skin. Um, but why don't we apply the same decency, dress code, societal pressures, and things like that, and shaming? Why don't we apply them to young women as well? When we're talking about seeing cleavage and bodies pouring out, their body, their choice. So it should be the same when we're talking about young men who choose to express themselves through SAG. And look, if they are not hurting anybody and they're not hurting themselves, then allow them to outgrow it. The same way people had mohawks or people would pierce their lips, still do, piercing themselves in the face and all this stuff, tattooing. If it's not hurting the next person and it's not hurting them and it's how they choose to express themselves, then why are we so against it? You cannot link directly pants sagging to crime, because long before there was pants sagging as a fad, people in zoot suits, I'm guessing pants were way up high. People in suits have been robbing people in mass for longer than people have been in pants sagging. People in robes, people in uniforms, people who put on the clothes and the wardrobe of authority and have supposedly earned our trust. People in lab coats. It's way more dangerous than somebody who may or may not sell a few street narcotics, when we have big pharma selling way more and have created a much larger epidemic than we've seen just by street value. When we're talking about the trust that we have supposedly had to have had or should have for not only our police, but we've seen things like that. So guys, again, it's pants sagging. It's not always equated with crime. It's the same thing with hoodies and oversized clothes, things like that. Now we're going to get to the other part where people say, well, in prison, it's a flag, or it's a communication, an unspoken communication that people want homosexual activity. Now, as I understand, sagging in part came from when people were taken into custody, especially if they were high risk. They had their belts, their shoelaces taken, things like that, because it was a threat. It could be used as a weapon on themselves or against other people. So a lot of times, and once you were awarded or given clothing, it wasn't a matter if it fit you or not. It was just that it was orange or it identified you to be an inmate. So there's part that. Now, is there a part of it that is attached to homosexual activity? I would guess so. But couldn't you say that with anything? Couldn't you say that about a cowboy hat? Couldn't you say that about a certain baseball hat? Couldn't you say that about a lot of things that people in the homosexual community do or dress that is very similar to just anything? So I find it a bit of a homophobic angle to try to say, so, well, that's gay. You know, you're not going to shame people out of something. You have to educate them. You have to educate them on that. Now, I've never been to prison, so I couldn't say if that's the complete way it goes across the board, but I'm sure that there's people that sag that are not homosexual. I'm sure there are people that sag that are homosexual. I don't think it's just a flat out beacon for that. But even if it is, half of us, most of us are not in prison having this discussion. So while I am for giving people an idea of how to dress better, how to present themselves better, I agree wholeheartedly. But this has to come down to content of character over what used to be just color of skin. That was Dr. King. But why is it not content of character over economic status, employment status, whatever it is? And this is wardrobe status. If you choose to do that, I will take every day the kid who is sagging his pants and is going to work a regular job or is helping in their community over the person in the suit that is legislatively allowing us to be sold poison in our foods or allowing our environments to be corrupted and polluted. I'll take it every time. Let's even just go one step further. Let's say this person is committing crime. Broken in, stealing a car radio, this or that, whatever it is, on some petty, low level. It's still less egregious on society and humanity and our legacies as this, as the person who's allowing those judges that have given, and they've been caught, judges that were sentencing people specifically for profit, officers that have admittedly done some horrific things. They're not sagging their pants. This is just something to think about. So because again, they're an easy target. The same way the police and the legal system can punch down on people who can't defend themselves. We're taking cues from that to punch down on them. I get it. Let's dress ourselves a little better, represent ourselves a little better, then tell that to our daughters. Tell that to some of these young mothers who are in their 30s, 40s, who have kids, and they are directly influencing how their children are seeing how to act and dress. Tell that to the fathers who are a little bit older and should be doing certain things as far as improving their face value. But guys, at the end of the day, it has to be about content of character of the person. And you can make a case to say, yeah, well, if somebody walks into my office looking for a job and they have their pants sagging or they have their breasts hanging out, that's not a good look. I would agree. And I'm not so crazy to think that stereotypes and perceptions of how we are as humans, we're biologically wired to assess on sight. It's part of our survival. I understand that. But we also have the thinking ability to get beyond some of that as well, especially in this day and age. We're not in a state of being tribal, so you just see somebody wearing something different and you have to attack because they may be coming for your crops or your land or anything else. So we have that ability. Do we choose to exercise it properly? Not always. But I will take somebody at their face value. Now, if somebody comes up sagging their pants and they just have nothing to offer or they are being negative or things like that, okay, cool. But that's the person. You can take that same person and put them in an Armani suit and you can still get the same outcome as far as who they are as a person. We've always known the clothes don't make the man or the young woman or the mother or the father. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. And in my humble estimation, as life has given me, I try to give back. And many times where I've had the opportunity to have been approached, somebody felt that I was trustworthy enough or approachable enough to come and ask me for money for food. I will take them to lunch and sit down with them. I've learned more from sitting with people in tattered clothes. Tattered clothes. Content of character. It matters, and it's an important piece for us to all start to really realize there's a bigger picture. I get it, but for all the times that we say we need to turn off the TV and stop being brainwashed by the media, this and that, well, what is pants sagging? Telling us the pants sagging is just a gateway to crime and activity? No, it's not. It's just youthful exuberance. It's one person's way of self-expression. It is often the influence. It's not their nature, but it's how it's been nurtured into them. And if we want to assign it to gang activities, then why are we not doing more for these young kids before they realize or think that they have to go to a gang to realize love and acceptance? We can all play a part. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sure a lot of people still disagree because off the visual, it looks stupid. Well, so does a young girl who has to keep pulling her shorts down every 10 seconds because they're too high, they're riding too high. So do mothers walking into schools in lingerie. This has happened, and schools in Tennessee and other places in the country have started to put rules onto parents. So you tell me that that doesn't look crazy as well. Looking crazy is somebody in a well-groomed, well-fitted suit having to stand up and apologize to the public and the people who voted them into office for crimes they've committed, breaking our trust. Uniformed sworn individuals, again, being disgraced and shamed for, again, committing crimes or going against what their oath was. People in robes doing the same thing. You're not going to convince me that that is not worse than some kid who's going to outgrow it at some point. Most of them do. And we've all gone through some stage when we were young. You know, I had, lines here, cutting aside or whatever. You see people, I've seen people who have outgrown the tongue ring, the belly button ring, people who've had tattoos removed. It's possible. It's possible. But you can't keep just punching at one group because it's easy. Give them your best advice without judgment. Give them a story that's relatable. Hey man, I did the same thing too, but when I got my first job, this is how I kind of buttoned up. This is how I got a little bit better. It's the same way a lot of you are sitting right now watching me in obese bodies. If I judged you harshly and just said, well, you're lazy. No, a lot of you just don't know how to start and do better. And that's okay. And so I can tell you a relatable story about maybe somebody else that I know who was going through the same thing and how they improved themselves, to give you a little hope rather than to kick you and make you still feel like it's insurmountable, that you're worthless. And it wouldn't be your fault because maybe your parents were heavy. Maybe your grandparents were heavy. Maybe it was a lifestyle that was passed down over generations that you yourself were just born into. Isn't it possible that somebody sagging their pants was born into that? Isn't it just possible? Or there's a percentage that was born into that. We've heard of second and third generation as far as being in gangs and things like that. No different than somebody's a second or third generation part of an athletic family or lawyers or doctors. It's possible. It's possible. So it's just my considered opinion. I don't expect people to completely change their minds, but hopefully what I've said just gives us cause to think a little deeper before you make that judgment, before that hard judgment hits your heart, not just through your eyes, but how it resonates in you as a person. Just possibly, that person isn't everything that you've already been told by somebody else. And again, content of character. Each person's going to be different. Just because you come across one person who may have been sagging their pants or acting a certain way, or was in a suit, or because what do they tell us? It's not all cops. It's not all judges. Okay, then it can't be all kids sagging their pants. All young girls didn't deserve it if they were dressed a certain way. We got to get out of this. We do way too much judgment before we actually use discernment to say, what if it was me? What if it was me? What if it was a loved one? Is this how I would want society on a whole to treat them? And no, you don't have the ability to say, well, it wouldn't be my kid. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. And any parent who is honest with themselves know that your kid has not followed you exactly to the letter of the law, the same way you did not follow your parents to the letter of the law. So yes, it could be your kid. And even if it's not, it's still part of our society. It's the world that we live in. I said I was going to leave it at that. So a few minutes later, I just hope that this really hits. And I hope that it gives people something to honestly think about. There's a lot of good people out there, and there's a lot of good people that are just, it's like finding a diamond. Maybe just a little pressure maybe dust a little topsoil off, a little dirt, and you've got a gem. And I guess I speak to this because I was in some real rough spots in life. And there was a lot of people that took the time to put the pressure to help me improve myself, and then dusted me off, shined me up, and allowed me to be a little bit more of a polished version of myself. And so that's what I wish for you guys. Not only as possibly the archaeologists who are digging and finding these gems and these jewels. Maybe you're a jeweler, maybe like a teacher, higher education, where you can polish these. But it's on all of us to do our part in society. So once again, I'm going to leave it at that. And I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity, and as always, subscriptions and videos. So stick around.